Don't leave me hanging. It's go time.
Hey everybody, this is Josh, and here we have a game between WhiteRa, better known as WhiteRa. He is the Ukrainian Protoss player. He's the red one down here on the bottom spawn of Metalopolis, and his opponent today is going to be E.G. DeMusliM, the British Terran player. Here he is as the light blue Terran over on the left side spawn, so they are at close flying positions. DeMusliM is actually the newest player in Evil Geniuses, and this best of 3 series is being played for the Intel Extreme Masters European Championship in Kiev, Ukraine. So WhiteRa, actually hailing from the Ukraine, should feel pretty at home. It is a live event, so both of these guys are sitting at computers, probably only like 10 or 15 feet away from each other, and WhiteRa should feel more comfortable. Obviously, he's in his home country. Everyone's speaking his language. DeMusliM, on the other hand, a young guy repping a new team. He was with MTW and was teammates with Demaga, the very good Zerg player, for a long time, but now he is with Evil Geniuses, hoping to represent at these European tournaments. WhiteRa, still sponsored by Duckload and has been since retail in July of 2010, so still rocking that sponsorship. I'm sure he's very happy with Duckload, or he would have changed by now. He's also on the team Mouth Sports, but only plays with them in team events. Otherwise, he is property of duckload.com, which I believe is a file sharing website, very popular in Europe. Maybe not all of Europe, maybe just the Ukraine. Who knows? Not me. Anyway, DeMusliM is building his barracks, getting that refinery up next, doing the very standard Terran build, and WhiteRa on the other side is doing the very standard Protoss build. Nothing crazy coming out of these two players just yet. WhiteRa is going to be the first one to scout, and he will see that DeMusliM is not at that right-hand spawn, so he's going to drop a pylon here at the top of his base so that he can warp in and cut the run distance to either the top spawn location or the left spawn location, wherever he happens to find DeMusliM. So that pylon placement benefits him no matter where DeMusliM is after ruling out that right-hand side. DeMusliM now getting an SCV into WhiteRa's base, which is pretty interesting that he scouted the close flying positions first, maybe because he hadn't seen a probe scout come into his base yet. He was able to at least guess that WhiteRa was over at this bottom position on Metalopolis, and he started to do a gas steal. Really only needed to build it up a little bit. This way he can still cancel it. Not going to finish it, just going to get that HP up there, so it's really annoying for WhiteRa to have to try and kill off if he wants to take that second gas. Obviously this does force DuckloadRa's hand into some lower tech, so forcing 4 gates out of a really good Protoss player might not be the smartest thing you can do, but DeMusliM is going to limit the tech options that WhiteRa is going to have by, putting that refinery there. And now a Zealot is out whacking away at this already. The SCV should just be escaping now. No, it looks like he might stick around. Not sure. Yeah, it looks like he is going to safely exit there and keep his SCV intact. WhiteRa going to probably be placing a pylon here somewhere in the near future. He tries to stay far away out of this Marine's vision. I think he did actually catch a glimpse of him though, so he knows this probe is in the area somewhere. WhiteRa does get that refinery finally killed all the way off, starts to build a robotics facility next, so really it didn't force him into multiple gates. Instead he's going to go 1 gate, 1 robo. Maybe WhiteRa knew that the refinery typically forces you into low tech and decided to try and bump that system so that he could confuse DeMusliM a little bit later on in the mid game. DeMusliM is getting a second Rax here, actually a third Rax as well, so 1 Rax with a reactor, just making enough units to defend early game while he tries to get this command center up. On the other hand, WhiteRa getting a second gateway now after that robotics facility is nearly done. He's got all 6 probes working on gas now. Let's look at the harvester count. WhiteRa with 27, DeMusliM with only 22, trying to get that expansion up so that he can catch up really quickly with mules. But if WhiteRa builds a big enough force quick enough, he can actually catch DeMusliM by surprise. There's only 6 Marines here guarding everything. 7 and 8 will be out shortly. Tech Lab coming down, and a 4th barracks, so this guy is going to be concentrating heavily on his tier 1 bio. Probably going to be start rolling Tech Lab upgrades immediately. Yes, he is going to go for Stim first. He's still working off of only 1 gas, even though the second orbital is about to complete here. He can drop another mule immediately, but he doesn't. There it is, okay. And he's starting to build more SCVs, so now he's got double the worker production. He's got a 3rd gateway coming in over here for WhiteRa and an expansion Neither player being too aggressive right now, just trying to keep tabs on the other one. An observer for WhiteRa has basically flown over and seen everything there is to see. Now he's just leaving it parked here in the middle so he can see exactly when DeMusliM does float that orbital command over. He's got just a few tier 1 units here to protect against any SCVs trying to build bunkers or anything like that. So both players know that the other one is going some sort of economic build and not massing units, although DeMusliM is starting to get up there a little bit. He's at 50 supply against WhiteRa's 45. Worker count still in WhiteRa's favor, and this Nexus should be coming up soon. The Robotics Bay is now coming up as well, so Colossi going to be on the menu for WhiteRa here. And DeMusliM starts to move out with how many Marines? About 13 Marines, just a couple of Marauders. Neither upgrades are finished yet. Stimpack is about to complete. No concussive shells yet. He's bringing how many SCVs here? 8 SCVs as well, so I'm not sure why DeMusliM is feeling such urgency that he needs to bring 8 SCVs along for the ride. Duckload Ra doesn't have that many tier 1 units. He's starting to pull a few probes here, just transferring them over. And now DeMusliM is setting up for his first attack, sending all those SCVs in there as meat shields for his many Marines and Marauders. He does stim up there, but obviously with no medevacs, he needs to be very careful with how much stim he actually uses. WhiteRa force fielding the ramp as you would expect him to, killing off a free SCV. That pylon is going to go down, does not block WhiteRa, but he does have 3 warp gates, and this first Colossus comes out with perfect timing here. DeMusliM going to be on the run now. This Nexus is going to be destroyed by DeMusliM though, so at least his task force was able to achieve that. WhiteRa should just back up now. There's really no reason to chase this big ball of units. He can kill all these free SCVs, which is nice. Now looking at the Harvester count, DeMusliM is actually ahead now. Oh, actually just dropped back down. Blizzard still has a little bit of a laggy income tab for whatever reason. Everything else seems to work pretty normally except that one. But these Stalkers charging forward quite bravely here. I don't know why this Colossus is up ahead so far, but he does have 12 kills to his name now. That extra stim out of DeMusliM made it very easy for those laser sweeps to just destroy a lot of Marines. DeMusliM stops running randomly in the middle of the road. He's going to lose some more units here, if not everything, and that single Marauder tries to stim and run away. WhiteRa still checking out everything that DeMuslim's doing. He's going to see this reactored starport here, creating Vikings to counter his Colossi. DeMusliM never took his orbital command over to his natural, and I'm wondering why. Maybe he fears a counterattack right now, but look at all these SCVs he's got. He's got 38 SCVs saturating one base when he could easily just float this over, build a bunker or 2 here, and just have this whole other base to his availability. Looks like a scan did manage to take out that observer there. DeMusliM working off of both gases. WhiteRa got his second Nexus up yet again, so both of these players are going to be working off of 2 base now. Extended Thermal Lances have begun researching. A second Colossus will be popping out quite soon here, and WhiteRa looking to be pretty content with what he's got going right now, not trying to be aggressive, not trying to counterattack or anything like that. After holding that little attack, well, he did lose a Nexus, but DeMusliM was oversaturating his main, so he didn't really gain that much advantage from it anyway. It's kind of a weird situation what he was doing there with that orbital. But WhiteRa sends a probe up to the Zelnaga cavern, just gets easily destroyed by this Marauder. Now WhiteRa sends a single Colossus to come deal with this guy. That's kind of funny. Obviously these shields will just regenerate quite quickly, and that Marauder cannot regenerate at all because his head was removed from his body. And Extended Thermal Lances nearly done now. Third Colossus being chrono boosted out. How many Vikings does DeMusliM have now? He's got 4 here in the air. Is he creating any more? Yes, he is. All the time getting more Vikings. These Colossus really need to be careful with their positioning here in any future battles. WhiteRa setting at 93 supply, DeMusliM up to 101. Obviously these barracks allow him to make a ton of units quite cheaply. Just one benefit of playing the Terran race: you can make mass Marines and Marauders pretty easily. They are all very mineral and gas efficient. WhiteRa starting to move now. He's only got 1 sentry in tow. I wish he would have some more, but at least he can drop 3 force fields for when these 2 armies meet. I always just suggest bringing a lot of sentries with your Colossi, especially against Terran, because they can stim up and snipe your Colossi so fast, not to mention the many Vikings overhead already making things difficult. A Twilight Council came down and a Templar Archives was just completed, so he has not started researching either Psystorm or the Khaydarin Amulet yet, but have to imagine that's going to be coming soon if these Colossi don't get the job done here in this next big engagement. We've got 7 Vikings here, 8 Vikings coming along. The Vikings are going to come in first. They may drop and try to distract here in the back. Oh, they're just providing vision against this pylon. Easy pylon kill for DeMusliM. Freebie actually supply blocks WhiteRa. Not bad at all for DeMusliM. 2 more gateways being made. Couple of pylons to replace the one that just went down. He does not want to get blocked again, especially mid-battle. Vikings not really doing much now, just looking over that gold expansion, making sure nothing is there. Not sure what DeMusliM's doing here, just posturing, getting some medevacs out now. High Templar being warped in, and Psystorm being chrono boosted, so he's going to have all these Colossi and some Templar there available for feedbacks and storms when the engagement actually does happen. I keep referencing some engagement that seemingly may never happen. Here we have a drop of just 3 Marauders and a single Marine here in the back of WhiteRa's base. He's going to try and get some scouting information, I think, run all the way to the probe line and just start gunning them down, trying to kill all the ones on gas, because sometimes it is hard to remember to replace your probes on gas, but those Marines and Marauders actually got 3 or 4 kills before going down. I'm not sure if it was an even trade-off, though, as WhiteRa has already replaced those probes on gas, and he's got quite a few still on minerals. Now we see some sort of engagement here. Lots of Vikings gunning down these Colossi as fast as they possibly can. Of course, that's why he built them in the first place, but a storm went down. Haven't seen any feedbacks or really anything yet. This Colossus is still doing a lot of damage to this line of Marines and Marauders. He had 7 or 8 kills before he went down. All these Zealots and Stalkers still holding up quite well, and now an Archon being morphed, being kicked around like a soccer ball. Only a few units even left from DeMusliM. He's at 102 supply. WhiteRa is at 106, so they're still quite even. This battle in the middle starting to get hairy for both sides. Looks like DeMusliM is not comfortable with fighting against this Guardian Shield Tier 1 force, so both sides actually going to back off now. DeMusliM back at home, also trying to take a 3rd base here up at the top left. Has not made it into an orbital command yet, cannot make it into a planetary fortress since he does not have an engineering bay, and I did just catch a glimpse out of the corner of my eye of this Ghost Academy completing, so we will see some ghosts here relatively soon. WhiteRa still warping in some Templar here and there. How many does he have here? 3 Templar. None of them have enough storm for Psionic Storm. Another drop comes down from DeMusliM. That is another benefit of the Terran race. You know, you have to have medevacs anyway to heal up your units, and it is such a close flying distance between these 2 bases. He can just basically do an octo drop or any mixture of Marines and Marauders, whatever he wants to do at any time, essentially. And WhiteRa is going to have to either respond very quickly or leave some Stalkers there to defend against that. WhiteRa is looking like he's pretty comfortable with his army units, his unit composition right now, his army composition, however you want to say it. And DeMusliM is going to be doing a big old drop here in the back of WhiteRa's base. I'm going to watch this drop until I see WhiteRa's army start to do anything. Then we may have a picture-in-picture situation here. I'll watch DeMusliM's army try and take out whatever he can here at the main. WhiteRa is starting to move in now at the front of DeMusliM's base, though, and DeMusliM not really doing too much damage. He doesn't seem to be very focused. He is taking out the Templar Archive and this Nexus. Of course, great decisions there. He needs to take out probably these couple of pylons, and a few Templar and some Zealots warped in to try and fight off this force from DeMusliM. WhiteRa seems to be cruising pretty solidly through DeMusliM's base. He's kind of all over the place right now. DeMusliM's forces are kind of dwindled down now. A couple of Marauders here being Psystormed down. Need to get more Zealots in there. WhiteRa is responding as fast as he can while he still has these warp gates functional. All of these medevacs, none of them really have any. Well, they do have energy, so they are healing back up, but these storms doing so much damage, draining them quickly. DeMusliM, he's going to have to kill every building that WhiteRa has, and WhiteRa cleverly has hidden a pylon over here at this gold base, so a base race situation looks like it might be going into WhiteRa's favor here, as DeMusliM can't really kill things fast enough with the forces he's got left, and WhiteRa still has all these warp gates still functional, able to just warp in a ton of Zealots and High Templar. DeMusliM is trying to expand again here at the top of the map. A couple of storms coming down yet again, actually a lot of storms now. There are High Templar all over the place. working down these Marines and Marauders, and DeMusliM still taking things out. He GG's. WhiteRa did enough destruction in his base that forced him to GG, so DeMusliM unable to kill everything that WhiteRa had. This base at the natural here is essentially its own base. I had 3 warp gates still functional and a decent economy still. All these High Templar and Zealots constantly able to warp in, fending off this attack, while WhiteRa was able to just pretty much cruise through DeMuslim's base. Not too much there to defend against that. So WhiteRa is going to take game 1. This is a best of 3 series, so now let's go into game 2.